Welcome, my beautiful souls, to another moment filled with words that breathe emotion and stories that stir the heart. Today, I bring before you a tale wrapped in mystery, depth, and rare affection. Sheikh Hamdan's final choice, an older woman. This is not just a poem. It is a reflection of maturity, patience, and a love that goes beyond the boundaries of age and appearance. Fazza's heart, often hidden behind royal grace, speaks once again through the whispers of his soul, and what he reveals today will change how you see love forever. In the golden silence of Dubai's skyline, where the sun kisses the sea each morning, Sheikh Hamdan stood alone, not in sadness, but in thought. The world around him expected a fairy tale, a young princess by his side, someone radiant and charming. But love, as fate had written, took another form, graceful, wise, and strong. She was older, not just in years but in soul. Her eyes carried the calm of storms she had survived. Her voice held the poetry of experience, and her presence commanded peace instead of noise. Fazza, known to many as the poet of emotions, had always seen beyond beauty. He saw meaning in moments others overlooked, and he found solace in souls that carried depth. The woman who won his heart did not chase fame or the glitter of palaces. She walked with dignity, spoke with warmth, and healed with silence. To her, love was not a display but a devotion, and that rare purity became his final choice, a choice the world may never fully understand. Sheikh Hamdan often wrote in his secret verses, "The one who loves beyond time teaches the heart to live twice." Those lines were not written for the world, they were written for her. He admired her for the way she carried her past without fear, for the way her wisdom shone brighter than any jewel he had seen. Age had only gifted her the ability to love without rush, to trust without demand, and to stay even when the lights dimmed. That was the kind of love Fazza had prayed for in silence. When people whispered, "Why her?" Fazza only smiled, for he knew, love does not ask for permission, it only seeks truth. And in her, he found the truth of what it means to be seen, not as a prince, not as a poet, but as a man. Her maturity grounded his passion, her calm balanced his fire. Together, they became the poetry that even the stars envied, a union of youth and wisdom, of royalty and reality. There were days when she would remind him, "Hamdan, the world will never understand what they cannot feel," and he would answer softly, "Let them not understand, I only need you to." That sentence alone carried oceans of meaning. It was not defiance, it was peace, the peace that comes when you find someone who understands your silences better than others understand your words. He adored how she didn't melt under attention or titles. She treated him not as a ruler but as a human, the boy who still sought warmth in a crowded palace, the poet who still believed in forever. And that's what made her different. She loved him not for who he was in the world's eyes, but for who he was when the world wasn't watching. That love, raw, gentle, real, became his final chapter of faith. Their connection was not one born of sudden fire but of slow, patient glow. Like the moon's steady presence in every night, she became his constant. Fazza often said in his verses, "Some hearts arrive not to excite but to heal." She was that arrival, a gift wrapped in grace. Her laughter softened his restless thoughts, her silence cured his pain, and through her, he learned that love's truest form is not youth or passion, but understanding. There was poetry in their difference, his adventurous spirit meeting her steady soul, his dreams blending with her wisdom. She reminded him that love doesn't need to be loud, sometimes it just needs to be lasting. Together, they built a quiet world where age was no barrier, and time itself bowed down before the purity of their connection. The royal halls that once echoed with public grandeur now carried softer sounds, her voice reading his poems back to him, her advice shaping his reflections. And in those quiet evenings, Sheikh Hamdan would smile and think, perhaps this is what destiny looks like, not a fairy tale, but a peace story. The older woman who became his muse was not his choice of the mind but of the heart. And the heart, as he always said, never lies. To many, his decision was surprising, even bold, but to Fazza, it was divine. He saw in her the reflection of everything he ever wrote about, endurance, empathy, truth, and timeless love. And maybe that's why he called her not my queen but my peace, because sometimes, peace wears the face of the one who has lived, loved, and learned enough to understand the value of silence. In one of his hidden verses, Fazza wrote, "She walked into my world when I stopped searching, and became the reason I stopped running." That was the essence of this love, unexpected yet perfect, quiet yet eternal. He didn't choose her because of what she could give him. He chose her because of what she made him remember, that real love is not measured by time but by truth. Their story became a poem itself, not printed, not performed, but lived. It was a reminder that love's beauty lies not in its timing but in its sincerity. Sheikh Hamdan's choice silenced judgment, defied expectation, and inspired thousands to look beyond appearances. For when a man chooses peace over pride, wisdom over glamour, and depth over display, he has already found forever. And so, as the desert wind carries the echo of Fazza's words across the dunes tonight, the message remains: love who understands you, not who entertains you. Sheikh Hamdan's final choice was not a rebellion, it was revelation. A revelation that love, in its purest form, belongs to no age, no title, no world, only to the soul that dares to feel it completely. As the moonlight caressed the royal balcony, Sheikh Hamdan stood watching the city lights flicker like stars that had descended to meet his gaze. His heart was full, not of excitement, but of quiet gratitude. He had walked through the gardens of admiration, faced storms of opinion, and listened to countless voices telling him what love should look like. But now, he understood, love was never meant to be defined by the crowd. It was something the heart discovers in silence, when all other sounds fade away. She had become that silence, that calm rhythm that kept his world steady even when chaos surrounded him. Every evening, he found himself writing new verses that reflected her influence on his soul. His poetry was no longer about longing or distance. It was about peace, about being seen for who he truly was beneath the royal crown. He wrote lines like, "She did not arrive to change me. She came to remind me who I am." And those words carried the essence of everything he had been searching for. The world may have called her older, but to Fazza, she was timeless. Age could never measure the beauty of her soul, nor the gentleness in her touch. He often said in his quiet reflections, "The heart that has lived longer, loves better." And she proved that truth every day with her patience, her care, and her wisdom that wrapped around him like light. To the world, she was just a woman. To him, she was destiny's final masterpiece. When he finally introduced her to those closest to him, there was silence, not of judgment, but of awe. They could feel it, the rare connection that words couldn't explain. Her composure, her humility, her respect for his world, it all made sense. Even his poetry seemed to glow differently, filled with warmth that only comes when love matures beyond fantasy. And for once, Fazza didn't care about approval. He cared only about truth, and his truth was her. As time went on, his poems became his love letters to the world, each one carrying the heartbeat of their story. Through every verse, he showed that love's greatest beauty lies not in youth or excitement,